Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
Good afternoon. My name is Janina Jacobs, and I'm kind of going to take Jack Barry on a tour of his life way back when. We're going to talk about the early days. Art McCafferty had asked me to explore all of that because I'm probably one of the few that has known him, well, since I was 10. And in fact, I think that's a great place to start. And I have proof. I have a lot of articles that he wrote in the Detroit Free Press that kind of chronicle things that happened with me, my family, women's golf in general, and public golf. I think Jack, or shall I refer to him as Mr. Barry, which is what my dad always respectfully called Jack, because he was the first one to meet him back when my family was involved with the Detroit Free Press Junior Golf School back in the 60s. And I guess the best way I could equate that program is with what Youth on Course is doing today, where it allows kids to go and play golf at a very, very reasonable rate. Now, back when I was playing and was part of the Detroit Free Press Junior Golf School, it involved kids ages 9 through 14. And it was boys and girls. And Jack always wrote columns about the school. And the end of the school, we had a tournament, so he always covered that. And because we had family members, my brothers Michael, Chris, and Patrick, and myself, part of that school.
Won all the tournaments every year. Every year.
Except for those well, not except for those Probins. Those Probins, they won too. But that's where my father and Jack met. And it kind of started, Jack and my mutual admiration and love affair started when he came to our house one day back in 1966 and actually did a story on our family, Everybody's an Athlete in the Parrott family. And I do have that article. So, in fact, Jack, I remember I was not a house cleaner. I was a golfer and a musician. And my mother was on me. We got to get this house cleaned up because Mr. Barry's coming here to do a story. Well, I don't think you ever got inside the house. No, we were in the yard. So I wasted all that time cleaning the house. But we did have a couple of putting greens that my father built in the backyard. And there were pictures on that. And we had golf nets and chipping and putting contests and things like that. And so Jack did a wonderful story on our family. And actually, we have been friends ever since then. I was 10 years old, and I'm 64 now. Yep. Curly hair, red socks, red shoes. I wasn't really the fashion diva that I think I am now, but it goes so far back, Jack, and how influential you were. You always did the stories on the not just women's golf, but public golf. Because public golf, I know, was very, very important to you.
It still is. It is very under-publicized, unfortunately. As good as golf has been in Michigan right now, it's still the public links, like there's a real strong public, Michigan Public Golf Association, and that's kind of gone the way, and the United States Golf Association and National Public Links Championship, both men and women, and that's gone.
It is, and actually I played in the very first Women's Amateur Public Links back in 1977, and I think I played in like 18 of them all the way until it was disbanded a few years ago. Well, I am. I just don't get much of a chance to play now because I'm doing so much advocacy work. I'm involved in organizations and associations, military, veterans, GAM governor, writing, television, radio, doing all these things. So you know what that means. When you're in the business, you don't get to play much. Ask any pro, they'll tell you. But that's okay because we're sending a good message. And I kind of want to go back and ask you, when in the early days, when we're talking maybe like the 1960s, 1970s, there really weren't that many women that played golf. In fact, growing up, what I remember, exactly 72, and I remember growing up. I grew up because my dad didn't treat me any differently than my brothers, thank goodness, and taught me everything they did, including golf, which was the best thing and most confidence boosting experience he could ever give to me. But I came along, and because of the golf, I was actually surprised as I grew and went into junior high, high school, that all girls didn't play sports, that all girls didn't play golf. I was amazed because that's what I grew up with. But it was a very low percentage. But things came along. Now, when Title IX was in the process of coming into be, did you know about the early stages of what it took to pass Title IX? Were you familiar with any of that?
Not really, no.
It just came, and it was a mandated sport. And now a lot of people don't even know what Title IX is. And I sure knew, because when I was growing up, unlike today, there weren't that many junior programs. There wasn't much for junior girls to play in. I had to play in whatever I could find. And then when which was the Free Press Junior Golf School, that was about it. The Detroit City Championships. And interestingly enough, there's the United Golfers Association, which was an association of black golfers from around the country. And I was so tickled that they let a little white girl play in their tournaments. Because in the early days, as you know, it was a little lacking in diversity. And so along the way, that has grown. And those were the only tournaments I could play in. Maybe there were some city championships at Rackham Golf Course or at Redford. We had a few things, but really not that many. And then when Title IX came about in 1972, I was fortunate. And again, this is because of a lot of things that you did in publicizing women's golf and junior golf and public golf. I was the first woman to play on a men's high school team at Pershing High School after Title IX in 1972. I was in my senior year. And then following that, I was also the first woman to play on the Wayne State University men's golf team, which our season started in the spring, so that was actually 1974, and competed against the men. And it's kind of interesting, a lot of the men that I competed against are now or have been pros here, directors of golf, different positions in the golf.
Well, it's like
industry.
in your time there, Joyce Kazmierski was the same in high school. She was in the boys' team.
Yes. That's all we could do.
Right.
And I have to yes, that's all we could do. And I have to say, even though we had to play the ball down from the blue tees, there was no playing the forward tee, none of that. We played from where they did. And I can't remember exactly how many matches I won or I lost, but I know I won my fair share, and I can guarantee that the guys who I played with, they remember if they lost or won. So it's interesting to come across some of them now. So now about that time, let's talk about the Women's State Amateur Championship, because it's because of you that I even was able to play in my first Women's Amateur Championship. So can you kind of talk about how the tournament was back then before it was open?
Oh, it used to be you had to belong to a private club to get in the state championship, which was hardly
Closed company.
Closed,
Yeah.
right. And I guess I've always thought more of the public course player than I have of the private club players with the iron gates, and members only going into the club. And fortunately, there's some good people in the private clubs who knew that wasn't right and changed things.
It was a lot of people. They know me from playing golf for so long. I've been playing golf. What am I? 64. I've been playing since I was 8. Do the math. That's a long time. 56 years or more. And a lot of people. Oh well, Janina, you grew up at a private club. No, I didn't. I grew up on the city courses. Never set foot on a private club. until the second year that I played in the Women's State Amateur, which was at Tecumseh, which was the year that I was the runner-up against Patty Boyce. Now, the only reason I was even able to play in the state amateur is because you intervened and you took advantage of a special exemption that it was called the Women's Michigan Golf Association. And people may not understand this, but it was WMGA. There was also a women's golf group called the Women's Metropolitan Golf Association, shared the same initials. And so there was kind of a quid pro quo because no one wanted to give up the initials. And they said, well, okay, we'll give you special exemptions for your Women's Metropolitan Golf Association for your low handicap golfers in exchange. But still, there had to be a letter written and there had to be a recommendation, and you gave me that first recommendation back in 1977. And I remember it well because that first year that I played, I was so excited. It was up at Otsego, at the Otsego Club, and Hidden Valley, and I ended up making it into the quarterfinals my very first year, which I guess is kind of testimony as to not only me, but a number of other young women who really should have been playing in that tournament for quite a while. And then the following year was when I was runner-up, and I guess that kind of cemented my place in the Women's State Amateur. But it was a long journey before it went from letters requesting special exemptions to when the tournament finally became an open tournament. And I believe, was that in maybe like the 80s, Jack? Do you remember? 80s, Jack?
Would have been. I meant Shirley Sport missed all of that. You know, she in the World Golf Hall of Fame, and you know, public school. What was it? The high school that she went to out there on Grand River. School is gone now, whatever it was, but she played on the boys' team, and then she had the lady from Birmingham Country Club. My mind isn't real good at 88.
We're going a long way back.
Yeah, who got her into tournaments that were supposedly private.
Yeah, yeah, and we needed mentors. We needed mentors. We needed advocates. I know sometimes today the climate with women, and they're trying to get ahead in life and in business and trying for equality. I know sometimes it can get to the point where women, well, we don't need anybody, we should be able to do this. But I still believe, and I have respect for this, that sometimes you do need a gentleman to speak up for you in order to get where you need to go. After that, it's up to you, and then it's up to us women to bring in other women and help with the advancement of whether it's in corporate golf or business or in whatever endeavor that we're working at.
Well, it's not going as fast as it should, but it is going. It's to say, as a father of four, girls, I understand, problems that you have.
And I've still been asked to mentor a lot of women and young girls today. And I think, Jack, one of the things that you and I both share when we talk about golf and playing golf and golf courses. Now, I know you love to play. I don't know if you play that much anymore. But course setup, yardages, length of courses, hazards, wetlands, a lot of things that are on golf courses today. I sometimes think architects still don't get the fact that you've got a lot of people playing who cannot carry those bunkers, who cannot carry those water hazards, who don't hit the ball that far. I mean, yes, I was a top player, back in my day, national championships, state championships, regional, international. And even though I can still play fairly well today, I've lost distance just like anyone else. And that's when you realize what the average golfer goes through when you're trying to play a course that just asks you to carry the ball 200 yards or
well, smart golf course operators understand that, and they have moved tees farther out. I mean, I'll go to the farthest up.
And I'll join you, Jack.
At,
I have no problem with that.
I played a couple summers ago. We were up at the Black Lake, and which is a wonderful course
Yes,
that Reese Jones did, and they must have about 6 tees or so. They get smart.
Very
I mean,
smart.
who's playing this course? We're not a bunch of PGA pros,
Well,
for
I think-
crying out loud.
Well, I think, this is an interesting point, and I'll bring this up because I think it's something that the viewers would like to hear about. Are you familiar with a study that was done on comparable yardages for touring pros versus women golfers? And let me quote this as best I can. There was a study that was done that compared shot for shot what the average woman golfer faced playing a 5,600-yard course. Driver, 3-wood, the routine. And when they compared that to a touring pro, and they took Matt Kuchar as an example, because he's not ferociously long, but he's not short, he's about average. The yardage that Matt would have to play to equate what a woman playing a 5,600-yard course faces is over 12,000 yards, which doesn't exist, folks. So I don't really feel sorry for the tour pros when they're playing 7,600 yards. I really don't feel sorry because they're hitting drivers and 8 irons and 9 irons. So it's a totally different world. But I don't think that's come down to the average player and the average woman and the average man or senior for that.
Well, there aren't that many courses being built anymore.
No,
We've got enough, and it's for the operators, whether it's a club or public or whatever it is, for the operators to understand the people who are playing there,
Multiple tees, alternate
right,
roads, things
right.
like that.
And I was looking at a piece on the Japanese course that's going to have the Olympics, and how they made sure, like there's somebody from the LPGA is involved in this course setup and all, and they're going all around to every hole and having a forward, a tee for women farther out,
That's what
and
I like to hear.
you
You got to ask what. Can we switch gears a little bit to, I think, what was one of your favorite parts of your work as a writer for so long is the Detroit News Hole-in-One contest. Yep, he started that. And when did you start to work on that?
I'd say it was when I was at the news.
70s maybe?
Early 70s.
I'm trying to think how long.
73, 74, somewhere around there. Yeah.
And one of my father's fondest dreams was that his whole family could compete. Now, for those who don't know what that contest consisted of, in order to get into it, to enter it, you had to have a bona fide hole-in-one at a regulation course. Didn't have a hole-in-one, you couldn't enter. Well, my dad, he entered, I think he got his first hole-in-one the year after my mother died in 1985, and he's had 5 since then. My silly brothers, they got them way before that. They had 2 each. Now, my older brother has had 5, I believe. I never had one for years, but I would go to the contest, which used to be over at Redford Rogel, which is, unfortunately, overgrown land right at the moment. And I would go every year to support my dad and my brothers. And every year, what would you ask me? When are you going to join our ranks? And I said, Jack, I've been close. I've had eagles. I've even had a double eagle. I've had lion on the hole. I've had all these things, but never got one. And an amazing story, and this again involved you, if you'll recall. I was playing in the women's amateur at Black Lake Country Club, and it was actually the year before I believe I was runner-up again in the women's amateur, 93 or 94, to Debbie Williams. And I'm playing in the tournament, and I didn't play very well the first day, so I knocked myself right out of the championship flight. And we all know that playing in the consolation flight is like kissing your brother. But I said, okay, I'll make the best of it. I'll try to win that flight. So my play became much more stellar. And on the in the semifinal round day, quarterfinal, semifinal, I'd had a 36-hole match. I won my morning match. The afternoon match, I was playing, and on the 11th hole, which was a 171-yard par 3, playing about 192 because pin was all the way back, and the green was a double-tiered green. I remember these things. I can see it in my mind. I remember, and there's a really good story that goes with this about getting this hole-in-one, but I won't tell it right now. But I remember just prior to taking the club back, which, by the way, was a 2-iron, which I don't even carry a 4-iron anymore. It was a 2-iron. And I'd hit 5-wood earlier in the day, so what possessed me to take a 2-iron? I have no idea. But just prior to that shot, I envisioned getting a hole-in-one. And as I was taking the club back, in my mind, into the cup, into the cup, into the cup. Took one bounce on that upper tier, went into the hole, got my hole-in-one. I was shocked. My playing partner was shocked, but not in a pleasant way. And there were rules officials standing on the tee as well. And I clearly remember as I was walking down the path to go to fish my ball out of the hole, I ran into you. You were standing there in the woods off to the side. And do you remember what you said to me?
No.
Okay, that's all right. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay because it's implanted in my mind. What you said to me was, Janina, I want to congratulate you on your hole-in-one, and I want to be the first to welcome you to the Detroit News hole-in-one contest. Yes, yes. And I was so shocked that that happened, but so surprised. And then I talked to you later, and you said, have you told your dad yet? I go, Jack, I'm about ready to go make that call right now. And we were just laughing and smiling. And I also have an article and a picture of the first appearance where my dad and my brothers and I all came to when it was still at Rogel. When it was still at Rogel.
Well, you still playing it, don't you?
I do.
I've seen your name.
Yes, I do. I do. Yes, I do. And actually, I've won the women's division a couple times. Yes, and usually I try to get there every year. And actually, now I support it because now as member relations chair of the Golf Association of Michigan and a governor, that is something that I have put out as an initiative to do more special things with veterans and military. And because that event supports Folds of Honor, we are encouraging a lot of military-friendly people to come and compete. So we're making it even bigger and better than well, not better maybe, but making it bigger and more lucrative than it has ever been, because people then can donate to the cause. So it's been quite a journey. And in fact, today is my brother Pat's birthday. I think you met Pat. And I told him I was coming to interview you today. And he said, oh my gosh, would you please tell Mr. Barry I said hello, because I am just so glad he is still active and working his magic in the world of golf.
Yeah, good. What are your brothers doing now?
Well, unfortunately, my oldest brother Mike suddenly passed away about a year and a half ago. So he died at 67, so we were really sorry to lose him. But my brother Chris is the chief financial officer at Hatch Manufacturing in Chelsea. And he has been at Red Run Golf Club for decades, including being president and being on the board of directors. So I'm harassing him all the time. Him and Wally Sierakowski. And my younger brother Pat is in real estate here and in Florida. And you'll be happy to know that we all still play golf. We all still try to get together to play. My brothers still call me to be a quote-unquote ringer to play in tournaments. In fact, it's kind of funny. Sometimes if they want to have some fun with some guys, the guys will challenge them to a match and they'll say, hey, bring a partner. And my brothers will say, you know what? I'm so confident in my ability to beat you that I'm going to bring my sister, which is a little condescending, but we know the story. So it's everybody's doing well. We're all kind of looking at retirement, but I think we all know that when you're having fun doing everything that you want to do, you really don't ever want to retire. I still have the restaurant. I'm still doing golf and travel writing, still doing my professional music, still doing all these things, and still trying to be an advocate as you were for me, so that we can encourage women, the public, and juniors to play. And I'm happy to say that you were also supportive of the Executive Women's Golf Association when I founded that chapter here in 1993, writing articles and publicizing it, and it is still going strong today. So, Jack, Mr. Barry, I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for me personally, for women, for juniors, for public golf, because without you, truly without you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today.
Well, thank you very, very much. I love doing it. It's so fortunate. Golf was about the best beat in sports, because John Walter always used to say, you go to the nicest places and you meet the nicest people.
And you eat the best. But you're right. You're right. It's a great job, and like we say, you're working, but it's not like work. So you'll never quit. You'll never quit.
Hey,
so long.
I'm always happy to see you, because I know it's always going to be sparkling and fun and enjoyable. And you have done a great job in golf. We're lucky to have you doing what you're doing.
Well, God bless you, Jack. And I am just honored to be your friend and to have known you for so long.